Good afternoon from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This is Space Shuttle Endeavour Launch Control. The countdown for launch of Space Shuttle Endeavour tonight on mission STS 89 is continuing on schedule. Launch is scheduled to occur at about 9:48 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are currently at a scheduled hold at T-minus 3 hours. Work at Launch Pad 39A as well as operations here in the firing room are continuing as planned. This is Endeavour's first mission to dock with Russia's space station Mir. The previous 7 docking missions were all successfully done with the orbiter Atlantis. With an on-time launch, docking of Endeavour with Mir is set to occur at about 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, January 24th. And we're with live pictures now from the crew quarters and the operations checkout building as our 7 astronauts are seated for their traditional meal prior to launch. Our Sharapov is mission specialist, as well as we just saw mission specialist James Riley. Here is Bonnie Dunbar, who is preparing for her 5th flight into space today. She is the most experienced astronaut of all the crew members today, which are commanded by Terry Wilcott, who will be leading this crew of 7. Andy Thomas will be remaining on Mir for 4 months. Michael Anderson and pilot Joe Edwards are preparing for their first flights into space today. Everybody looks like they're wide awake. They have been, in fact, awake since about 9 o'clock this morning. They've had 2 meals since that time, and this is simply a snack that they will have before they make final preparations to board the orbiter Endeavour and then launch tonight at our preferred launch time of 9:48 p.m. At the shuttle pad, the final inspection team is continuing their operations to make final inspections of the orbiter, as well as to look for any potential debris items that may be on the pad surface or on any of the number of walkways that run up and down the full length of the vehicle. They'll also be looking for any buildups of ice or frost on the external tank following the loading of the cryogenic reactants. And we have now moved to live TV of our astronauts that are being suited up. They've just completed their weather briefing and are making an effort to get a little bit ahead of schedule, so they have moved on into the suit-up room. Commander Terry Wilcott, of course, being the commander of this mission, did again receive his weather briefing just moments ago and was told that we will proceed with our activities tonight, that there are no technical issues that we're dealing with. Bonnie Dunbar, who is preparing to make her 5th flight into space tonight, is also making final preparations to ensure that her suit is tight and snug. Joe Edwards, of course, seen. He is the pilot of this crew, and he is preparing for his first flight into space. And we have seated here Michael Anderson, again, also making his first flight into space. Jim Riley, also making his first flight into space. He is designated mission specialist number 1. And he is saying hello to his friends and family who may be watching or who have actually come to the Space Center to watch his launch tonight. Salazan Sharapov is a graduate from the Moscow State University. He was also a pilot instructor in the Russian Air Force, and he was been training at the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center to be an astronaut or a cosmonaut candidate since 1990. Andy Thomas will be making his 2nd trip aboard the shuttle, but this will be his first time to visit the space station Mir, which will be his home for the next 4 months. He will replace astronaut Dave Wolf, who has been on Mir since September. Thomas is scheduled to be the 7th and final astronaut to live aboard Mir. And at this time, we do have live shots from the third floor of the operations and checkout building as the crew exit their crew quarters and make their way down the hallway toward the elevator, which will take them out to the astronaut van, which will then take them out to the pad. And they're being greeted by well-wishers and supporters, employees at the Kennedy Space Center who like to get a last glimpse of the crew before they head off into space, spending the next 9 days in orbit. 5 of those days docked with the Mir space station. And the astronauts coming out of the quarters right now as they are being led by their commander, Terry Wilcott, followed by pilot Joe Edwards, mission specialist Bonnie Dunbar, Michael Anderson, Salazan Sharpov, James Riley, and Andy Thomas. And this is a view from the White Room as our commander, Terry Wilcott, is making final preparations to enter the orbiter. He will be the first to enter the vehicle so that he can begin the enormous task of making sure that everything is set up and ready to go for a launch tonight. Mission specialist Andy Thomas making his second trip aboard the shuttle. Again, he will remain on Mir for the next 4 months, replacing astronaut Dave Wolf, who has been on board Mir since September. Thomas will become the 7th and final astronaut to live aboard Mir. Pilot Joe Edwards has just now crawled into the orbiter, and he will be followed by mission specialist Bonnie Dunbar, the most experienced astronaut in this flight, having gone into space 4 times already.
I'll give you step 544. Okay, I'll put 545 to work. RSRT, OTC. RSRT. Step 554, new tape. Copy, that's complete. Tech 1390. 1390. And that was step 554? 554. Okay.
OTC, PLT, time check.
PLT, this OTC, I got you loud and clear. How many?
Loud and clear, Roberta, good evening.
Good evening, Joe.
CHD, CGSS, ABSX, entity air to ground 1, verify active on air to ground 1, and monitor 232 for remainder count, and verify loud and clear. CHD? HDD, verify loud and clear. All right, CGSS. CGSS, verify loud and clear. And JBSX.
JBSX, see loud and clear.
Loud and clear also.
Dave King is being introduced today as the new launch director at Kennedy Space Center. He is only the 3rd launch director the Cape has had since we had returned to flight of the space shuttle. King began his career with NASA in 1983 as a main propulsion engineer. He later served as flow director for the Orbiter Discovery and as the acting deputy director of the Installation Operations Directorate.
And CDR launch director.
Go ahead, sir, CDR.
Okay, Terry, looks like weather's good. Looks like we got a good vehicle, and we're going to try to get you out of town tonight, and be looking forward to seeing you back here in 9 or 10 days.
Well, thanks a million, and we'd also like to extend our thanks to your workforce here at KSC and to all the honorees that are down here for the Spaceflight Awareness Launch.
And we have orbiter access arm now being retracted away from the vehicle. This Arm can be returned to position within seconds if need be.
OTC PLT, APU pre-start's complete with 3 gray dogmax.
Sit down.
OTC PLT, APU starts complete with 3 good APUs.
Thank you.
And final air surface checks of the orbiter's elevons as well as the rudder are being completed at this time. This verifies the orbiter's hydraulic systems. And the 3 main engines are being gimbaled for a final test before launch. And we're standing by for the retraction of the gaseous oxygen vent hood away from the external tank, and it is being retracted at this time. Inside the bronze-colored tank is about 500,000 gallons of super cold liquid fuels that run on the orbiter's 3 main engines.
We're clear with no unexpected errors.
Copy that. Flight crew, OTC, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow. We begin 98, sending our last astronaut for his stay on Mir. We're going to howl for the Wolfman.
That did work. We'll see you in a few days. 15.
T-minus 13 seconds.
10.
9, 8,
Main engine.
7, 6. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, continuing the union of U.S. and Russian space endeavors.
Houston Endeavour, roll program.
Roger, roll Endeavour.
Houston is now controlling. The roll maneuver is complete. Endeavour is now in a heads-down, wings-level position, headed to a rendezvous with the Mir space station. Seconds into flight. Endeavour now traveling at about 520 miles per hour. Endeavour's engines are now throttling down to 67% of rated thrust. Endeavour is now passing through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle in the lower atmosphere. Downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 2.3 miles, traveling at a speed of just about 870 miles per hour.
Endeavour Houston, go at throttle up.
Roger, go with throttle up.
1 minute, 19 seconds into the flight. Endeavour's 3 liquid-fueled engines are now back at full throttle, 104% of rated thrust. Endeavour downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, a distance of about 10.5 miles, traveling at the speed of about 2,000 miles per hour. Just about 7 minutes of powered flight remaining. Two minutes, 9 seconds into the flight, the booster officer confirms good separation of the solid rocket boosters. Endeavour now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center at a distance of about 38 miles.
Houston, performance nominal.
Copy, performance nominal.
Endeavour Houston, 2 engine TOW.
Copy, Susan, 2 engine TOW.
2 minutes, 35 seconds into the flight. Endeavour's performance has been as expected, and in the event of a single engine failure, Endeavour could now reach the transatlantic landing site at Zaragoza, Spain. Telemetry still continuing to indicate that all 3 main engines and auxiliary power units and fuel cells are performing well. Commander Terry Wilcott continuing to fly a very precise course up toward the Mir space station, and this view from the Mir space station looking at Endeavour as it continues its approach toward the Mir, now at a distance of just about 45 feet.
Попросите кого-нибудь рукой помахать из кабины шаттла.
Надо в иллюминатор помахать рукой.
And this view of the crew cabin of Endeavour from its overhead windows.
Houston, we're with you, Tidris Z, and via Mir, we're looking in through your 2 overhead windows.
And these are the overhead windows in the crew cabin of Endeavour as it is now just about 43 feet away from Mir. This view coming from the Mir space station. As Endeavour approaches the 30-foot distance from the Mir space station, this view of the overhead windows in the crew cabin of Endeavour. Very shortly, the crew will begin its station keeping at the 30-foot level before receiving their final go decision to proceed at the docking with Mir. That docking expected just about 11 minutes from now. And docking will take place in darkness, as this view also is in orbital night, as the two spacecraft now are some 209 nautical miles or 240 statute miles high over the African continent.
We copy, Rep.
The crew is reporting that they have sighted the docking target on board Mir and that no course correction is required at this time. And the crew is now beginning its final approach to the Mir, passing inside the 30-foot mark as it continues a very slow approach for docking with the Mir space station. Endeavour now within 25 feet, closing at a rate of about 1/10 of a foot per second.
Yes, Cassania, yes, Rockbot.
And contact between Endeavour and the Mir space station confirmed on time at 2:14 p.m. Central Time.
Endeavour Houston for Andy, we have a good view of the flight deck. What's it look like?
Home sweet home. It's an impressive sight, actually. It's just amazing. It's been described as a big mosquito or dragonfly, and it's right. It's got all kinds of wings on it. It's an incredible sight.
Once Commander Anatoly Solovyev is done with his activities opening up the Mir hatch, as well as some housekeeping activities. At the conclusion of that, the shuttle will begin a pressurization equalization prior to the opening of the door from the hatch from the shuttle side, allowing the Mir 24 and STS 89 crews to greet each other personally.
And Endeavour Terry, we have an excellent view of you at the ODS hatch, and you have a go for hatch opening.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Hatch opening and a first greeting between Mir 24 Commander Anatoly Solovyev and Mir STS 89 Commander Terry Wilcott, as Endeavour Mir are passing just to the southeast of Australia. And greetings all around.
Reminder to push and hold the BIPSMU.
God, you guys look great. Well, Commander. Mr. Mayor, how are you? Good to see you guys. Looking good, buddy. Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. Thanks for coming to get me. Although I could have lived fine a lot longer, psychologically, physically, but there's a lot of fun and good business to be done on Earth. It's time to go back, I think, and hand the ball over to Andy. He's very capable and should enjoy this. It looks like we're getting down to the end of things here. We've got to take out the MGBX tonight yet and change over this tissue culture equipment. But I think we're pretty much closing out most of our items. We've got a few hard ones yet that we're waiting on, but they're little items that I think we can come home without. That's how I see it right now.
Glad to hear it, Dave. I know you've had a very busy 4 months, and I know that the guys who brought Endeavour up to you have had an extremely busy 4 days, so we'd be happy to have the pace slacken off just a little.
Very good. I tell you, the team's clicking real nice up here, and it's just a pleasure being with my American friends again, and this whole thing's just a wonderful experience. I can't wait to see you on the ground, and maybe you'll drag me through the ski course a time or two.
This is Mission Control Houston, and this view once again of the double Space Hab module in Endeavour's payload bay. In the aft section of the Space Hab module is Mission Specialist Bonnie Dunbar, and in the foreground, Mission Specialist Jim Riley, and with his back to the camera, Dave Wolf, who has just completed his 119-day stay as a member of a Mir crew. The astronauts have just completed stowing away one of the experiments that was conducted during Wolf's tenure on the Mir space station for its return trip back to Earth, and have been conversing over the past several minutes with the scientific community here in Houston to ensure that the stowage was accomplished properly and to provide the status of that stowage down to the payload community here in Houston.
Bonnie, we've completed step 3. We're closing the hatch.
Okay, I copy.
Houston Endeavour. Ellen, the standoff cross is installed and the hatch is closed.
тогда люк придется на короткое время открывать.
Да, понятно. Ну, в принципе, как и мы в прошлый раз, вот в сентябре работали, это, или когда, в августе мы, да, постыковали его. Ну, хочешь или не хочешь, там в респираторах надо работать.
Да, я думаю, что так придется сделать. На короткое время найти, кабели состыковать, люк прикрыть и...
Я понял, Евгений.
Но решение еще не принято, так что мы еще будем обсуждать.
Так, а на корабле там телеметрия прошла, там раскрылась, все нормально, да?
Да, ребят, все.
Так, а что-то эта 05 радиограммка маленькая такая.
Какая? Ну, она меньше,
А
чем на
вот,
полстраницы.
05.
Ну, там ссылки на документацию. Ищите.
Понятно.
Ребят, у нас заканчивается зона СР. Значит, у нас такое предложение. Сейчас выключаете СА-319.
Так.
Затем у нас идет УКВшная зона до 2014. 19:58 возможно телевидение. Для этого...
Okay, 1 minute.
Rev, are you going to be ready to go on time?
Yes, I am.
Okay. 1 minute to go.
Okay, opening 03. Close the ring. 256.
Can you have anything, JR?
As far as I can open it.
Then Mike, you have the camera manually on monitor 2. Wait, are you going to center that map or does
Yeah.
do that?
57 round.
Okay, Rev, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, on the page.
Got us opening 04257.
Okay, 15 seconds.
Rev, are you going to want the ADAP? That's what they say starting.
Yes, I will, but I'll wait until you execute it to go to
Okay, 5 seconds.
057.
0.
There's the eight.
Rev, you're tracking. Thanks.
Hey, auto burn.
Yeah, got us opening 08. And 257. Still shooting the ball.
Istanci mera shuttle winachi maknayam avio.
Thank you. That's one bucket. Houston Endeavor, physical separation, executing SEP burn.
Anatoly Kruki at Kriti.
Sorry? Full SEPA. Наблюдаем отход.
And Endeavour's crew confirming physical separation of Endeavour from the Mir space station.
Delium impulse сейчас.
Принято.
Родники, как слышите, ЦУП? Родники ЦУПу. Родники, ответьте ЦУПу.
Изучаем. Изучаем. На связи. На связи. На связи.
Анна 86, включите.
Анна 86, включаю. Понял.
Режим, который мы ожидаем, и из него надо выходить. То есть мы понимаем, почему он произошел, и понимаем, какие надо совершить действия. И эти действия дальше изложены. Мы переходим на конфигурацию номер 1 двигателя 17 КС, перезакладываем БР и дальше вот по этой радиограмме.
Понятно. Но там тоже есть вопросы. Значит, я открываю ОДО, пункт, страница 34, пункт 2.10.2.
Так.
И начинаем работать. Там, значит, сразу нужно по указанию Земли закладываем С-02, 2036-16, единицу.
Так, сейчас подскажем. Значит, это вычеркиваем.
Так,
Эту закладку вычеркиваем, да. Отбой подготовки у нас прошел, это мы не делаем.
Рядом. Он должен быть рядом с усилителем. Посмотрите внимательно, он должен быть где-то рядышком.
Расходимся уже, да, Паша? Видно хорошо? Начало расхождения.
So we get to 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
Opening at 1
Tell
4
Houston.
260.
And Houston Endeavor, STEP is complete.
Copy, Joe. Beautiful job all the way around. We congratulate you on the superb work through this entire phase of the program, and in fact, Frank just called to congratulate you as well. And we're in a beautiful view for the last 90 degrees or so, given to us through the window of the air. We're watching you back away now. Congratulations.
Nice job, Red. Very
Nice,
good.
nice, very nice.
Very pretty. Very pretty.
Okay, radar now disconverged.
Opening at 9
Okay, target ID +1.
Okay, there she goes. Don't you take pictures?
Target ID
F4.
+1.
F4.
Body vector +3. 14 +3. Looks good. Pitch +90. That's good.
Okay, we're
Yaw
300
0, Omicron 0. Okay, track item 19 execute.
Вот сейчас, да, сейчас есть. Сейчас есть, на фоне солнечной батареи висит. Анатолий, ну вот запрашивали вы по поводу этого переноса закрытия люков вправо. Я вот боюсь, что не получится у нас это дело, потому что мы привязаны к телеметрии. У нас дальше уже пустые зоны. У нас телеметрия.
Endeavour Houston, we're on the flight deck.
Okay, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and start our tape. What this is a little tour that we took from Space Hab down the tunnel to the mid-deck and the flight deck. And I'll introduce it by saying that, you know, we're on the day before landing, so there's a lot of activity as we prepare to stow our hardware and finish up our experiment ops. And I hope that what you'll see is the environment that we've been working in and get a feel for what it's like. This is not Cecil D. DeMille. This is our eyeball view of living in zero gravity. So stand by. We're going into the hab right now from the tunnel, which runs from the mid-deck to the Space Hab. It's floating right in front of my eyes, so you're seeing what we see as we come in. We're looking towards the tail of the shuttle. That large white package you see in the center is actually an empty foam cushion that contains some of our transfer cargo. We're now scanning to the starboard side and now to the forward side. You can see the tunnel we just came through and the Space Hab subsystem computer that we set up every day. We have our cue cards up, a handheld mic there velcroed, and then over to the starboard side you see many of the soft containers that were used for our cargo that worked out very well. Now going back towards the aft end, you see the OPM rack. The OPM is safely secured within it. And the cushion that's gently tethered to the front. And now let's go back to the aft end. We just missed Jim. We'll see him again a little bit later. He was working on MGM, which is in the center there. You'll see it in a moment. Right in front of you are the two SAM sensor heads. Those are acceleration measuring systems. And up there, the blue box is the EOR freezer. And now the two CGBAs that Dave tended to during his flight and that we transferred during the flight. Those are part of our status check every day. And surrounding them are more of the transfer containers, the cargo containers. We get a closer look at the SAMs here. It's flown many flights, comes out of the Lewis Research Center. It's an excellent acceleration measurement system. These remote heads can be put anywhere to measure in different frequency ranges the AC accelerations that experiments are exposed to. There are two chambers to the SAMs. I'm not showing you the active one right now. This is one of the test cells. And up on the ceiling there is part of the Japanese experiment for radiation monitoring. It's called the detector unit, strapped to the ceiling with a silver dosimeter strapped around it. Another advantage of a weightless environment is that you can use all surfaces. And off to your right there on the starboard side of the Space Hab is the DTO 1125 or TIPIC experiment out of the Johnson Space Center with its dosimeter balls strapped in various places. Now if we scan to the port side, we see a large rack that is a combination of two experiments, the VRAFE and the Japanese radiation monitoring experiment. We've been doing quite a lot of work with the RRMD. It has an electrical panel there up at the top, and then a data recording unit next to the computer, and that's the RRMD laptop that we have set up for keeping track of data. Now we're going back down the tunnel, And we're going to pass through the ODS, or the Orbiter Docking System, which is also now our external airlock. Those yellow handrails on your left and right are what I'm using to kind of float myself down the tunnel. I'm going to come in under the EMUs in the external airlock, and we're going to just look up and take a look at what we were calling MS7 and MS8 on our middeck for quite a few days. Now we're going into a tunnel adapter, which is where we keep several bags of stowage during the mission. Here we keep our laundry bags and flight data file that we're not using. Now the middeck is not only a laboratory, it's also our living area. Mike's been working on a lot of our middeck experiments. Here he's setting up a camera operation for MTNE. As you know, we've been working some anomalies with that, and we're trying to understand what's happening in that experiment. Just above that is the sea bass experiment, and certainly while you can't see the fish, the big ones or the little ones or the snails, we've been peering through the screens because it's backlit back there and find it very interesting. The commander is working out on the bicycle, and we'll all get our turn today. And you can see that we have quite a bit of stowage that we've been moving around on the middeck. These two laptops represent what's happening on the GPS experiment. DTO 700-14 and DTO 700-15, which we call SIGI. Now we scan to our port side to the MAR area, the galley area, and the WCS area. And our prime payload just needed to have something to do, so we put him to work, and he's turned out to be very good at this. This is a check of the refrigerator, the TEHM, and one of the things we noticed is that we have to keep the filter clean, and so we just cleaned the filter for those folks. We had a small towelette that had been sucked in. We also have activity up on the flight deck, so we'll just float up there, where Jim has quite a few cameras arrayed. And every time we all get a chance, we come up and take some photos for the Earth Ops folks. These are 70-millimeter Hasselblads. And this is the EarthCam camera set up in the starboard window. It's a view of the front cockpit. That is the flight plan that's tethered and floating in front of you. And the OCA PGSC, which now has the EarthCam software, is sitting up on our port panel. Well, let's go back down the inner access deck area. We'll go down head first this time. And we'll say goodbye to the commander, Terry Wilcott, who's just done a superb job with this flight. And I'll say goodbye as well, and thank you again for all the support that we got from the ground.
Endeavour now on final approach to runway 15.
Endeavour Houston on glide slope on centerline.
Thank you, Susan. We have the field sign.
Roger, runway in sight.
Endeavour is descending at an angle 6 times steeper than that of a commercial airliner on its final approach. Altitude now 3,400 feet. Time to touchdown 40 seconds. Landing gear coming down. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Drag chute now being deployed. nose wheel touchdown. Endeavour now rolling out on runway 15 at Kennedy Space Center at the end of a 9-day, 3.6 million mile journey, bringing home astronaut Dave Wolf from his 4-month stay in space.
Endeavour Houston on glide slope on center line.
Thank you, Susan. We have the field in sight.
20-degree dive. We're looking for a 195.
Roger, runway in sight.
There's radar. Check them out for me.
Right out 1 and 2 are good. 3,400 now for 2,000. 2,600 for 2,000. Looking good. Keep that thing in the center. Pre-flare, gear is armed.
Okay, I'm in the pre-flare.
Nice pitch rate, looking good. 1,000 for 300 feet, 900 for 3. A little bit to the right, looking good. 6 for 3, 5 for 3, 4 for 3. Straddle the center line.
Here.
Gear is coming. Straddle the center line. Nail that ball bar. There's 100 feet, looking for 50. Nail the ball bar. A little bit to the right fence. Straddle the center line. Final flare, looking good. 35 at 240, 21 at 231. Hold it off. 15 at 223. Hold it off. Hold it off. Hold it off. 1 at 209. 1 at 199, touchdown.
What, shoot.
And derotate. Got 9,500 feet to go. I'm looking for 60 knots.
There's a good shoot.
Yep. Touchdown.
Well steering.
Center line. Looking good. 140 for 60. 125 for 60. Mike, don't let me forget the shoot. 110 for 60. 100 for 60 knots. 5,500 feet to go. There's 80 knots for 60, 75 for 60, 70 for 60.
Edison?
Yeah, it looks good. Shoot a man, nice touchdown. Real good, real good.
Joe, beautiful focus, good pictures.
Good
easy braking.
Brakes coming in. Get out your enter checklist, guys. Got some work to do.
Outstanding, Vince. Outstanding.
That is good. Thank you.
Houston Endeavour, wheel stop.
Roger, wheel stop, Endeavour. Welcome home. Congratulations on a perfect mission to Mir. And Dave, welcome back from 128 days on orbit.